Good evening and welcome. You're watching Breaking Views, a show where we get you all the views so that you get the complete picture. Now, a book was launched only yesterday. This book release function took place in the national capital, in which the focus was on how Narendra Modi is the new architect of a modern BJP. But in that function, Mr. Rajnath Singh ended up saying that Narendra Modi and his popularity and his appeal in a social context is equal to Mahatma Gandhi. In other words, Modi equals Mahatma Gandhi as far as understanding this country is concerned, its people is concerned, the social context. Now there is a political war since then. What does this parallel actually mean? What is the message? This modified BJP and the opposition to take on this BJP is an attempt being made to appropriate the Mahatma and to liken Narendra Modi to Mahatma Gandhi. What does this mean? To basically project Mr. Narendra Modi as a Mahatma. Will this politically make sense, or will this end up in a political war? Let's first listen in to what that comment of Rajnath Singh was before we enter into a debate.
मित्रों, मैं मानता हूं कि महात्मा गांधी के बाद इस देश के जनमानस की मनोदशा समझने वाला, इस देश के जनमानस की मनोदशा को बूझने वाला यदि कोई इकलौता नेता है, उसका नाम है श्री नरेंद्र मोदी। यह कहने में भी मुझे रंच मात्र संकोच नहीं है। इसलिए वे जनता से सीधे जुड़ते हैं, वे जनता को समझते हैं और जनता उन पर भरोसा करती है। देश की नब्ज को भली भांति समझना ही उनकी सांगठनिक कौशल की यह आत्मा है। मोदी जी का यही मंत्र है, आप जनता से जुड़े रहिए, सफलता आपके कदम चूमेगी। मित्रों, जनता से जुड़ाव, उससे संवाद, देश की नब्ज पर मजबूत पकड़, आम जन की मुश्किलों की जमीनी जानकारी से उनकी लोकप्रियता ने देश ही नहीं दुनिया में सभी नेताओं को पछाड़ दिया है।
Now the thing is that Rajnath Singh has, many would say, some sort of a habit of comparing people to Mahatma Gandhi. He has done that in the past also. For instance, let's take a look at the statement from 2016, where at a book release function, Mr. Rajnath Singh said Vajpayee's personality is like Mahatma Gandhi. So Atal Bihari Vajpayee is also like Mahatma Gandhi. Narendra Modi is also like Mahatma Gandhi. Is there more to this comparison, or is this just a comparison that has been made by Mr. Rajnath Singh by understanding, according to him, the present day realities? Let's put this to a political discussion. We have with us Mr. Gaurav Pandhi. He's a spokesperson of the Congress Party, and Amil Shamsi, leader of the BJP, Vice President of the BJP UP Minority Cell. Thank you very much. Gaurav, I want to begin with you. What do you make of this statement? Likening Mahatma Gandhi with Narendra Modi with Mahatma Gandhi, and saying that this is basically in the social context of understanding people, understanding India.
Sanket, I would just say it's a failed attempt at seeking validation. Let me peel this off one by one. Although you mentioned social context a few times, but irrespective of the context, it is rather ironical to see the worshippers of Godse, who assassinated Mahatma Gandhi, to compare their leader with the Mahatma. Why? I want to ask a question. Why to the BJP that why they do not compare their leaders with Savarkar, their greatest ideologue? The reason is, if I would request you to refer to the report of the Kapoor Commission. If you read that report, it categorically said that the kind of evidences that the Commission got its hands on, if Savarkar were alive at that point of time, he would have been tried for conspiring the murder of Mahatma Gandhi. Right, the RSS workers, when Gandhiji was killed, the workers of the RSS and the people, those who were related to the RSS, they distributed sweets and they called for the similar killing of Patel, Sardar Patel and Pandit Nehru. And it's all of this is on record, right? And if we do not want to talk about the past, but the present, the statements, the endless statements of their leaders. Again, I'm not talking about the 2 rupees coolies on social media or the fringe. I'm talking about Amit Shah. He called Gandhiji Chatur Baniya, and today you are wanting to seek validation comparing your Prime Minister with Mahatma Gandhi. One of the sitting MPs, Pragya Thakur, who herself is a terror accused, she praised Godse for killing Mahatma Gandhi. Anil Vij, minister in Haryana government, he accused Gandhiji of devaluating currency. Just imagine. Anil Soumitra, one of the leaders in Madhya Pradesh, he said that Mahatma Gandhi was the father of the nation of the Pakistan. Kamakhya Prasad, another leader of the BJP, he linked Gandhiji with garbage. It's so unfortunate. And what are they wanting today? I mean, is it a joke going on? And one last thing, because the comparison has been, the Prime Minister Modi has been compared with Mahatma Gandhi today. As we speak, Sanket, India has the highest unemployment in our history of independent India. More than 50% of our workforce is unemployed, right? We have massive inflation. People are not able to buy essential food commodities. Forget about anything else. Food commodities they are not able to buy. The NCRB data has been released today, which states it says that the most number of daily wages have died by suicide in 2021.
Okay.
Why this happened? Because of the failed policies and failed governance of Prime Minister Modi's government. So are you trying to say that this is what Gandhiji was looking for, or
Sure.
was his vision?
Sure.
Absolutely
Sharad Pradhan,
not.
senior journalist, is also with us. But before I come to you, Sharadji, Amil Shamsi, how would you respond to, number one is the context in which the statement has been made, the validity of the statement, the correctness of the statement and the analysis of the statement. The other is Rajnath Singh likening other leaders also with Mahatma Gandhi. For instance, in 2016, Vajpayee's personality was also like Mahatma Gandhi. Modi is also like Mahatma Gandhi.
In our country, only two leaders was like Mahatma Gandhi. Only Atal Bihari Vajpayee and currently Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of our country, is like Mahatma Gandhi. Because the actuality of Narendra Modi and its government is working on the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi only. Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister who the people of India has started loving the Prime Minister of the country like the people of country love Mahatma Gandhi. So I'm totally agreed with the statement of Honorable Defence Minister of my country.
No. You may agree with the statement, but Sharad Pradhan, you see, 2 or 3 things have been said. Number one, Mr. Rajnath Singh's personal assessment. Could this have to do with the fact that very recently, old members of the BJP in the Narendra Modi scheme of things have been, I won't say demoted, but been kicked out of the parliamentary board, like for instance, Mr. Nitin Gadkari. Is this a fear playing in the mind of Mr. Rajnath Singh that he may be looking at some sort of political oblivion going forward, because of which he's making this statement? Or what does this actually mean? You see, because in just a short moment, we'll run an interview with the author of this book. He's a former journalist, press secretary to the president. It is in his book where this comparison has been made. And in that context, Rajnath Singh has said this.
Okay. Well, I find it it's the biggest joke that can be stated. Because Rajnath Singh, you have said it right. Rajnath Singh is doing it on purpose. Either he has been briefed to say this, because in this present dispensation, this is also possible that people are told to do certain things which they carry out.
Even Rajnath Singh.
Duty. Why not? You know, everybody knows that Rajnath Singh is quite marginalized. He may be the defense minister of the country, but from what I hear from people sitting at very high levels in Delhi, because he has, anybody who has a political base in his parent state is not relished by the people in power. They are not, so they are on the verge of being sidelined, like Nitin Gadkari has been sidelined. He's another person who has a sound base. Rajnath Singh too has a very sound base in Uttar Pradesh, and that is why there is need for the top people sitting in this country to sideline him. He has been sidelined for a long time. He might have been defense minister. You've seen the kind of, he only speaks when he is told to speak. Otherwise, this statement, you rightly hinted, that could be to save himself from being pushed into the Margdarshak Mandal. There have been many stories about how Rajnath Singh is likely to be moved to the Margdarshak Mandal, as you said, that senior leaders are done. Democracy is not a thing that prevails, that is still alive in the BJP. Sorry. To believe that there is democracy is, one has to be very, very naive. And to compare Mahatma Gandhi or Narendra Modi with Mahatma Gandhi can be the biggest joke and the most naive idea. Because to imagine what Mahatma Gandhi, it is, Mahatma Gandhi's soul would be completely battered to hear that he is being compared to somebody like Narendra Modi.
Okay.
They're miles apart.
Amil Shamsi, you quickly want to come back. You heard what Gaurav had to say. He said that, there are many BJP leaders, for instance, even the Bhopal MP, whom the Prime Minister said कि मैं दिल से माफ नहीं करूँगा. And she called Nathuram Godse, the killer of Mahatma Gandhi, a patriot, कि वो देशभक्त थे. I want to know from you, where does the BJP stand as far as internally? I'm not talking about the official position, but internally, how do you deal with these contradictions? That there are a few leaders who very openly speak against Mahatma Gandhi, and then there is this comparison with the topmost leader with Mahatma Gandhi.
जो भी लोग इस तरह की बातें करते हैं, जो राष्ट्रपिता महात्मा गांधी के लिए अपशब्द का प्रयोग करते हैं, ये उनकी व्यक्तिगत राय हो सकती है, लेकिन भारतीय जनता पार्टी की राय बिल्कुल भी नहीं है. भारतीय जनता पार्टी सदा महात्मा गांधी के सिद्धांतों पर चलने वाली पार्टी है. जो पार्टी वास्तव में भारतीय जनता पार्टी वास्तव में महात्मा गांधी के सिद्धांतों पर चलने वाली पार्टी है, और वास्तव में जो महात्मा गांधी के सिद्धांतों पर आज तक जो राजनीतिक दल यदि कोई चल पाया है तो वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी है. भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने सदैव जातिवाद से ऊपर उठ करके बात की है. इसका मुख्य कारण यदि कोई है तो हमारे भारत के यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी हैं, जिनकी वजह से आज हमारा देश जातिवाद से ऊपर.
Gaurav, quick 10 seconds because I have an interview lined up. Yeah.
10 seconds.
I didn't know कि हिंदू मुसलमान करना जो है महात्मा गांधी की पॉलिसीज में सिखाया गया था.
Not less than 2 weeks ago, or just 2 weeks ago, the BJP government released 11 rapists of a woman. Those who they killed, they raped, unfortunately, the lady's mother. They raped her and killed members of the family. These are not the Siddhant of Mahatma Gandhi ji. Please do not disrespect Gandhi ji by saying that BJP is the party that follows his Siddhant.
Okay, right. Gaurav, Mr. Amil Shamsi as well as Sharad Pradhan, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
So Rajnath Singh's comment, the Union Defence Minister's comment likening Narendra Modi with Mahatma Gandhi has a context because it has been touched upon in this new book called The Architect of the New BJP, and this has a lot of interesting insights. It's been written by Mr. Ajay Singh, and I have the privilege of having Mr. Ajay Singh with me. Thank you very much. You're the press secretary to the President. You're a renowned journalist and also the author of this book. Mr. Ajay Singh, my first question to you is, let's talk about the book itself. The Architect of the New BJP. What is the idea behind this book, and why do you feel that Narendra Modi is the one who has transformed the party beyond the obvious?
Thank you, Sanket. You have used too many adjectives for me, which I do not deserve. In any case, I started writing this book in 2017, and 2017 was the moment when I realized that the expansion of BJP is phenomenal. Assuming, if you go back, if you go a decade back or 15 years back, if somebody tells me that there will be a BJP regime in Northeast, I would not have believed it. But now, even those geographical area which were not influenced by the BJP, now it is in the embrace of BJP. So I thought that I should write a book. Although writing a book is somewhat very difficult. I am used to writing articles of 1,000 words, 1,500 words as a journalist, and that comes very easy to me. But of course, writing a book was something entirely different. So I started doing it, and I interviewed around 100 odd people who worked with the Prime Minister during different phases of his life on party building issues. And then I read a lot. I read books on RSS. I read books on those books which were published in 50s, 60s, Baxter, for instance. So many books. And then I wanted to find out, what is the, how organization building is important part of democratic process. So I started doing it, and then I wrote a piece, this book, and now it is in your hand.
Correct. Now, one aspect of this was touched upon by Mr. Rajnath Singh also when the book was released, and he talks about a sort of a comparison between Mahatma Gandhi and Narendra Modi. That he draws a parallel between the two. Can you explain the context in which you have mentioned that in your book?
No, he didn't draw a parallel. What he tried to say, or what he said rather, was that the understanding, profound understanding of social psychology of India, if you compare it with Gandhi, so there is no parallel to him except Gandhi. So it was in a limited context. You see, in Gandhi's case...
Is that what you have touched upon in
Yeah, I have touched upon it. I have touched upon it because there are so many decisions by the Prime Minister which entailed hardship for common people. But still, the trust in him has not shaken. So it was in this context, because you see, if you take the political history of India, Indira Gandhi imposed emergency. She is still recalled by people as authoritarian for that imposition of emergency. Similarly, if you take the case of VP Singh, Mandal Commission, the moment he implemented that, the kind of magic that he had, it was gone. But in Modi's case, it didn't happen. So what I tried to say, that his understanding of the Indian social psychology could only be matched with Gandhi, who
that you take decisions that may appear unpopular, that may appear irrational, and yet maintain
not irrational, but salt satyagrah.
Yeah.
For instance, if you take that, then people are going there, they are hit by lathis and bleeding from their head on, and still they have no complaint. So if you take that, of course, I'm not the one to say that there should be comparison between two distinct personalities. I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is that profound understanding of Indian social psychology. So it was in a context of social psychology, in which I said that, and which Rajnath Singh also referred to his history.
Because, Mr. Singh, the thing is that many, you mentioned the name of Indira Gandhi. She had taken many decisions that appeared to be contrarian or away from the ordinary. But that comparison is never made with Mahatma Gandhi.
No, because you see, Indira Gandhi had not taken, decision to go on in a war. That could be one, but Gandhi cannot be compared with that. It was in a limited context, that understanding the social psychology of India, that you pursue the non-violence, but at the same time you inflict, you let your workers be inflicted by violence from the other side, and still you assure your workers that no, it's all right. So that was something which was which I have not seen, and which happened during Modi ji's time, that demonetization or GST or so many other decisions that initially caused some kind of hardship. But people had so much trust in him that they decided to repose full trust. That was my point.
Okay. So it is in that context that this statement has been made.
Yeah, it is in that context only. It is in that context.
And you feel that there is no other parallel in this context?
I don't see any other parallel in India, at least.
When you say understanding the social implications and understanding the people, the psyche, you feel that that has been the reason why Narendra Modi appears to take certain decisions that appear risky, but still the government goes ahead doing it.
No, if you read,
and that explains the electoral gains also.
Not in terms of so much electoral gains. What I try to write in this book, if you see that, then I have written that that he will not take a decision with bad intention. He may take a wrong decision, but intention would be not doubtful. So he convinced the masses that his intention is always right.
Whether or not the decision may be correct.
Yeah. That is the reason he took decision, and then he withdrew it as well. And withdrew it for the larger interest of the nation. That is what he said while withdrawing this these bills on agriculture, farm laws.
Yeah.
So that was the reason.
I was also reading, a comment in the context of this statement, and one of the people said that the idea of secularism is also, in a weird way, Gandhian. What the government is following right now. Gandhi used to love to wear his religion on his sleeve, and so does this present dispensation. So you don't have to hide your religious identity to be a secular.
Well, yeah, it's reality. Gandhi was the example of that. He was, he used to wear his religion on the sleeve, and still there is no other secular person than him. So we all know that. So his secularism was different as compared to other secularism.
For instance, Mr. Nehru's.
Nehru, I would not say Nehru. Don't draw comparison between Nehru and Gandhi. Both were great people. So I won't say that his secularism was different. Everybody has his own style of doing politics and his own understanding of society. So Nehru also has a deep understanding. I'm as a student of history, not as a writer of this book.
Correct.
I know that Nehru has deep understanding. So I'll not compare the Gandhi versus Nehru or this kind of. Yeah.
My final question, Mr. Singh, apart from this comparison in the context, in the social context, anything else you would like to share with us why you feel that this is a brand new BJP, totally different from the way it was? Did Narendra Modi build on something he had and change it, or has he only taken forward what was started by, say, a Vajpayee and an Advani?
No, Sanket, I would say that when I say that brand new BJP, it doesn't mean that he has changed everything. It was a continuous process. What you see the BJP as of now, it's a BJP which has acquired a kind of vote share, which has positioned itself as a principal pole. So the kind of vote share the BJP has right now, it has reached a position which Congress used to have in 60s. So my thesis of new BJP is not delinked from the past.
Okay.
It is linked with the past. And I am sure that it is a continuation of Sundar Singh Bhandari or Kushabhau Thackeray and L.K. Advani. So it should not be seen as delinked from that.
Okay.
It has links. But what I am trying to say that the face of the BJP has changed, because now you used to say about Congress as the principal pole. Now the BJP is the principal pole. Every other party revolves around that. That was my thesis.
My final question, while you call him the architect of the new BJP, building on the past, does the book also look into aspects of what happens after Modi? What happens to the BJP?
Yeah, it looks after that. Towards the end of the chapter, I have mentioned about it, that with this kind of robust organization in place, BJP will keep on inventing its own icons of the time. So it will outlast individuals.
Okay.
Congress has outlasted individuals. So BJP will also outlast individuals. So confining it to one individual would be the wrong assessment, I believe.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Singh, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanket.